Go and then we start.
All right.
Yeah, we get it all on tape. All right, so who are you and where are we?
Well, my name's Jonan Blau, and this is, I guess, my bedroom. This is where I do either most of my little designs or Legos or architecture, or do a little light reading.
What part of the country are we in?
Right now we're in Monterey, California.
Awesome. Now, I'm out here for the Monterey Poetry Festival, and I met you when I came out in one of the previous years. Can you say a little bit about like how you got introduced to the Poetry Festival, and we'll start there.
Well, all right. Well, to start off, maybe I should start off where I came from. I originally was in foster care in Bakersfield for about 2 years. And to give a little context, it was a very conservative environment. So when no one really talked about new ideas or poetry or anything like that. So when I came out here, and also the little context, I'm queer, so coming out here and being much more safe around people was much more ideal. So coming into the bookshop, the bookstore capital, and meeting people who have there's new ideas, new perspectives,
Right.
and by extension the poetry festival by extension, because I feel like every poet, let me change that. Every poet not only gives their best work, but also gives a little perspective on the world.
Yeah. So were you already into poetry or writing when you heard about the festival and decided to drop by, or like what got you to actually check out the event?
Well, when I was younger, I wasn't the best at writing, and not a lot of places had that kind of aspect of the community where you can come and learn and write and stuff. So I kind of discovered this like passion to write things later in life. So that also inspired me to learn and come to the poetry festival. And
Now, it's interesting when you say later in life. How old do you mean? Because you're a young cat. How old are you now?
well, right now I'm 20 and
Okay.
I'm in college. But when I mean young, I mean like, because I'm noticing a lot of poets when I'm talking to a lot of them started doing this when they were either young, like in elementary school or middle school. That passion started young. But for me, I wasn't a good writer, or no one believed in me. So that came later in life when I was much more older.
Yeah, and now, do you find yourself writing more as artistic expression, or has that grown in other directions?
It's kind of I always think about it's more of like a branch in my drive to create things. I feel like I'm a very creative person, whether it's with my architecture or me drawing, or even more lately me writing and thinking about writing fiction and stories and stuff. This like urge to tell a story.
Yeah, and so like what changed so that like when you were younger you might say it wasn't something you were good at, or like where you felt confident in, to where now you're have that passion or that drive?
Well, two things had to change in me, and one was, if you were to talk to me younger, I'd be much more, I guess, more technical and more mathematical. And writing, there's that aspect, but it's much more loose with it. So I kind of had to change my whole viewpoint, and also my ability to think outside of technical things, like technical drawings and stuff, or technical, like, architecture.
And you think like being around some of the other writers or people you've met through the bookstore has kind of encouraged that, or like gives like a room of freedom to do that?
I would say it gives me much more of a room to do that. It's like, instead of being in like a grid, I'm on a blank page, and now I can go anywhere on that page instead of in those squares and blocks.
See, and you mentioned earlier like kind of the differences in growing up in Bakersfield and being up here. Creatively, do you think you'd be able to explore some of your writing interests the same way there that you can up here? Or like what do you think some of the differences are?
Some of the differences I'd say are much more like, I guess, demographics. Like down there, like you could write stories like up here, but not many people are willing to read them or explore that, you know? Many people are into traditionalists or more militaristic or more industry.
What would you say some of your themes or topics or interests are when you're writing?
Those intersections? Or what is that question?
What are some of your interests, like when you're writing? Like what are some of the topics or the themes that come out in your writing?
A lot of my writing, I always like to add that social aspect to it. Like for me, I'm working on my rough draft of, I call it The City on Rooftops, where it's a group of people who are homeless and they're living on top of buildings in cities. And how it's basically it's like a separate community.
What inspired the idea for that?
Just from my experiences, because I'm formerly homeless. I've been around and everywhere. And just, also wanted to give, because there's not many books about homelessness.
Right.
There's not a lot of like literature out there, and it's interesting. It's like, well, if I do this, maybe I'm creating my own little niche.
Yeah. What would you like to see, like, in your writing? Do you think, like, for me personally, a lot of my writing is cathartic or, like, really personal to me, or, like, for getting things out. Then the things that I share with people. I've never tried to write, like, a novel or something like that, or, like, things that aren't so really tied to, like, my opinion on things. Like, what would you like to see happen with your creative works? Like, so if you, like, finish your book, what would you like to see happen with it?
Well, my perspective kind of changed as I've been visiting the bookstore. Like, if you were to ask me that same question 2 years ago, my goal would have been to, sell it or make money. But nowadays, it's like I'd probably just have it like a free PDF, and if people like it, people can enjoy it without any money or gain on people.
No.
I don't really think about, money and stuff anymore.
In terms of outside of like money or kind of material side, is there anything you want people to get from your work, or is there any kind of emotional experience you want them to have?
One perspective I'd love people to understand more is, I guess, the concept of homelessness and how kind of foolish our society is. How there's more empty houses in the whole country than there are homelessness, and I'd love to show that world that not many media shows. Right.
Well, cool. Is there anything else you'd like to let me know? I am going to get some video of the Lego, so did you want to talk about that real quick?
My little Lego section?
Yeah.
It kind of stems off of my desire, my creativeness, where I just love that ability to tell a story. And, a huge part of that was always, Star Wars. I was always a huge Star Wars fan. So I'm kind of like designed like kind of like an imperial like base. Like this is where basically all the bad guys would be. They're making their planes and stuff. But it's kind of like an ocean theme to it. And there's like little planes, little guys marching around. There's like a little like base in there. People are like watching the monitors or something. No, it doesn't really show up there, but I kind of use my imagination with it.
And you were saying earlier that the Legos for you are another form of storytelling. You want to tell me a little bit more about that?
It's just, I really love Legos in that aspect. If you have like an idea, you can just put it together, and it can be something kind of like for me, I use a lot of Star Wars figures because it's easier to know what those characters are, but also if I need to create new things, it's very easy for me to create new things.
Right.
And obviously not everything's Lego. Like it's a lid on top.
Right.
So it kind of reminded me of like one of those concrete man-made islands. A lot of military bases are used on.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the folks that may hear this?
Well, I mean, thank you for listening to my 10-minute rant, and hope you have a great rest of your day. I mean, be creative.
Yeah, word up. I appreciate that, bro.
As Stan Lee said, if someone tells you it's a bad idea, don't listen to them.
All right, bet. Appreciate it, Jonan.